You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. We celebrated Bama burning on the show if you were here on Wednesday. No, we're going to keep doing that for quite some time, it would appear. But I wanted to take an opportunity today with a little bit of news around LSU to kind of take an assessment of where the LSU roster is with respect to the portal. With the portal window closed, but obviously a lot of guys in the portal, and then still the possibility of seniors to transfer, et cetera, and sort of look around. And we're learning more and more about guys who entered the portal, where their destination is going to be. So there's a little bit of news today. The first one is really, this was expected. I mean, it was the first name that we had heard whenever Lance Hurd entered the portal, was that it was most likely going to be Tennessee. And Matt Zenitz from 247 is reporting that Lance Hurd is going to transfer to Tennessee. I did an interview earlier today with Josh and Swain up there in Knoxville. Josh Ward, Jason Swain, awesome guys. And that they kind of confirmed the same thing. That's the expectation. So it looks like a guy that was a top 20 recruit in the country a year ago, and Lance Hurd is going to stay in the SEC, head to Knoxville, and continue a really good career. And that one might sting a bit, in another year or so. Might not. The other one that was interesting is we found out today that Fitzgerald West is going to finish his career, continue his career, I should say, with the Raging Cajuns there in Lafayette. Fitzgerald West went to LCA, so Lafayette Christian, and now is going to finish his college career with the Raging Cajuns back in his hometown. So that's a great opportunity there for Fitzgerald West. And for those two guys, I think we know a lot about both of them, right? Hurd was a 5-star from North Louisiana, came here, much ballyhooed. He was a backup because you had two great tackles. He was going to be a backup next year. He wanted a bigger NIL payday. LSU said no thanks. He went and found one apparently in Knoxville, so congrats to him and good luck. And then, Fitzgerald West is a guy I think that really does deserve some that really does deserve credit for the way he handled his time in Baton Rouge. If you remember, and not every recruiting is super memorable, or recruitment is memorable, but Fitzgerald West's was, because he came to LSU camp when Ed Ogeron was still the coach. And while he came as a defensive lineman, the coaching staff asked him if he'd be willing to take snaps at center and work with the offensive line. He said, sure. They offered him on the spot as an offensive lineman. So he played defensive line in high school, came to LSU, started on the offensive line. They quickly moved him back to defensive line. Then at the start of the 2022 season, if you remember, even through fall camp, spring football, fall camp, they didn't have a center. They ended up starting Garrett Dellinger a year ago in the opener at center against Florida State, if you remember. Fitzgerald West moved back to center because they were trying to rep guys there. And then when ultimately they settled on Charles Turner, West moved back to the defensive line. So that's a guy that was super willing during his time here to do whatever he was asked. And I respect that tremendously. It's a team guy. And in the end, he's ultimately going to find a place where he's going to be able to get on the field and go closer to home, back at home in Lafayette. And hopefully has a great career the rest of the way with the Cajuns. He'll have 3 years of eligibility remaining with the Cajuns. So good luck to Fitzgerald West. But I looked at it and I went, okay, let's kind of assess what LSU's roster looks like. We did a segment yesterday on the roster as a whole being the numbers, right, where the numbers are. In my very, very unofficial count, when you look at returning scholarship players, incoming signees, the one February signee with Dominic McKinley, who's on the books right now for February, and then your 6 incoming transfers, LSU's numbers are at 90. Listen, that's, again, my very unofficial count. So, but they should be right around that number. But they're heavy. They have 2 minutes, so there's going to be even more attrition. But I wanted to look at the players that have left the program, because when we were sort of tap dancing on Alabama's grave, the point with what's happening at Bama is they're losing not just bodies, they're losing stars. They're starting center. They're starting left tackle. Caleb Downs, they're all America's starting safety. They're Isaiah Bond, their best receiver. I mean, they are losing star players right now in Tuscaloosa. Their frontline guys are being gutted, not just depth. And I think this is going to illustrate the difference when you look at LSU. So LSU right now has 17 players that have gone into the portal. And that's a big number. Bama's at 29 after today. And that's excessive, but they had a coaching change. But 17 is still a big number. But listen to not only the players that LSU is losing, but where they're transferring to. Logan Diggs going to Ole Miss. Matt O'Dowd, the quarterback. He's headed to, I don't even know what school this is. Marist. Matt O'Dowd's going to Marist. Lance Hurd expected to go to Tennessee. Jalen Brown's enrolled at Florida State. Denver Harris is undecided. Deuce Chestnut's headed back to Syracuse. Ty G. Hill's going to Oregon State. Fitzgerald West, as we mentioned, he's going to ULL. Marlon Martinez to Mississippi State. Quincy Wiggins is going to Colorado. Jackson McGowan, freshman tight end, he's headed to Wisconsin. Tavion Falk is going to Indianapolis. George Hamsley is going to Tennessee State. LaTerrence Welch is committed to Arizona State. Armani Goodwin, UAB. Trey Bradford, North Texas. Bryce Langston's undecided. And I want to be clear, I am not in any way minimizing any of those guys and their opportunity. I think it's awesome that Trey Bradford is going to North Texas and may have an opportunity to be there every down back and go play a ton and get reps. I mean, he had a very odd college career where LSU, then Oklahoma, then back to LSU, then just a weird circumstance. I wish Armani Goodwin tons of success at UAB. That may be the perfect situation. Arizona State's going through a huge transition, but maybe LaTerrence Welch walking in right there could be a great opportunity for him to get on the field every down. Jackson McGowan was at a log jam at tight end. He looked like a good young player, and maybe he can go and develop at Wisconsin. My point is, of all the guys I just mentioned, really, I would say there's 4 players that you're going to miss or that have contributed that them leaving stings a bit. One is Logan Diggs, who was your leading running back this year, obviously. Now, Logan Diggs suffered a pretty serious knee injury in the bowl game, I'm told, and I don't even know to what extent he might be 100% this coming season. But he was your leading rusher among running backs this year. Lance Hurd, I think we all know, is a 5-star, is a projected starter on the offensive line, and but for the fact that he came into a situation where you had starting bookend tackles and a couple of veteran guys at guard, Hurd would have started darn near anywhere else in the country. So that one is one where you may look in 2 years and go, man, you wish you'd kept Lance Hurd. Or maybe, you obviously are going to have your starting tackles back for this coming season. And then after that, maybe one of the young tackles that LSU's recruited, developed, becomes a great player. Maybe you hit the portal and find a starter. You can protect yourself from that. And the other 2 that I would mention are Jalen Brown, because I think he's just really an impressive athlete and is going to have a great college career, similar to Lance Hurd. A great young player that you hate to lose, hadn't made an impact felt here, will at the place he goes, but you still have good numbers there at that spot anyway. And then I think we all would have been really interested to see how it could have worked out with Quincy Wiggins. He's going to go play for Coach Prime in Colorado. You wish him well, but he was a high 4-star recruit, and he was a guy that physically very imposing, but just had some development. And maybe with all the turnover at defensive coordinator, defensive line coach, maybe that positionally what LSU was just trying to, maybe that all stunted his development, maybe. But aside from that, those 4 that I just mentioned, none of the other defections really hurt you. I mean, I could throw Marlon Martinez in there because he's played a ton of football and he's a really good rotational piece for you, but he's not going to be a starter. It hurts your depth. Yes, it hurts your depth. But Fitzgerald West and Ty G. Hill and Trey Bradford and Armani Goodwin and LaTerrence Welch, these guys leaving, that's not devastating to your program. I think what we're seeing is just the natural attrition that is going to happen every year in the portal. You're going to lose 15 to 20 guys a year out of the portal. And in the way that used to be, guys that would take a medical retirement or guys that would go pro early or whatever it may be, or were processed out of the program, they just now enter the transfer portal. You're going to see that same number of that same bit of turnover. It's just going to be in different silos, if that makes sense. So, yeah, LSU's lost a lot of guys in the portal. 17 is a big number. But they're going to lose more because you're still not under the 85 scholarship limit, which you don't have to be in spring, but you have to be in fall. And there's still positions where you're going to want to add people. So they got a ways to go, but my goodness, I think the way that they've managed this roster through this portal season is light years ahead of where they were the last 2 years, where they were signing, 15-plus guys out of the portal out of necessity. Now you're rebuilding your depth in the portal with your top-line players. And you're, I hate to say processing, purging, cutting almost from the bottom. So I think with this portal cycle not completed yet, LSU's actually in a stronger place now than they were at the, when they finished the season in the bowl game with the win against Wisconsin. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.